Welcome to another video session by Indus Gurukul. Today's topic is sentence. Let's understand what a sentence is. As the definition mentioned over here, a sentence is a group of words that are put together to mean something. In other words, we can simply understand group of words together making or giving a complete sense is a sentence. It's the basic unit of language which expresses a complete thought. It does this by the following grammatical basic usage rules and syntax. So in short, apart from the definition given, when we talk about a complete sense, it means all the group of words arranged syntactically in a syntax that it will give a proper grammatical meaning. Example, he has a good memory. Bad habits grow unconsciously. Both the sentences, if we just go on jumbling the words and mention as good has he, memory the words remain the same. And yes, it is a group of words, but it will not be called a sentence because they are not arranged syntactically to mean or give a complete meaning in a sense. So, a complete sense would be giving a complete meaning which will sense something. And yes, followed by a punctuation called a full stop. That is what is a sentence. Now, further demarcation of a sentence is divided into two parts, namely the subject and the predicate. In easy understanding, a subject is the main idea of which the sentence is talking about. Now, this idea can be the names of the person or thing that we are speaking about in the sentence. And what we are talking about, the part of the sentence which tells about the subject, is called the predicate of the sentence. Example, the hero rescued the crowd. In this example, the talking subject or the main word or the main idea is the word the hero. And what we are talking about as followed by the rest of the group of sentence, a group of words, that is rescued the crowd, is what? Referring to the hero, what the hero did. So that becomes the predicate. A small overview of understanding a subject and predicate in sentences like this. Amy held a pencil. Johnny wore a hat. He looked happy. The star is blue. He is holding a star. In all these sentences, the main idea or the hero of the sentence is Amy, John, he, the star, and he again. And the rest phrases, the group of words, are being referring to the subject is under the predicate category. Let's take a small exercise to understand our concepts better. In the sentences mentioned over here, the dog jumped over the fence, over the high fence. In this sentence, can we guess what the main hero would be? Yes, it would be the dog jumped. In the second sentence, similarly, the main idea where the sentence is revolving around would be Rohan. And the sentence, 3 strikes and you are out. The main idea of the sentence is the 3 strike that is being spoken about. The internet was not working. The subject over here is the internet, which is being talked about. Seema and her dog ran on the beach. In this sentence, we are basically talking about Seema, not only Seema, but her dog as well. So, the subject over here is dual, combined together Seema and her dog. Whereas the sentence Mr. Vikas teaches the class, the main idea revolves around Mr. Vikas. So these are the subjects of the sentence, and the rest ones are the predicate, is the predicate. So you can see very clearly, yes, the one in bold is the subject and the one underlined are the predicates. The dog, subject, jumped over the high fence, predicate. Rohan, subject, the rest is a predicate. 3 strikes, the internet, Siva and a dog, and Mr. Vikas, what we did in the last slides. To further understand and analyze the different types of sentences, once we understood the different part of sentences, let's analyze the different types of sentences. Based on the connotation or the tone of a sentence, the types of sentences are identified as imperative, declarative, also mentioned as assertive, exclamatory, and interrogative. As the name sounds, assertive or declarative is the type of sentence where a sentence is being stated or declared, and it always ends with a period, as the boy is happy, that is my camera, people are running, I put my money in a piggy bank, the eagle is flying. All these sentences state something, give you information about something. So they are declarative as they are declaring. Interrogative sentences, on the other hand, does not end with a full stop as the name sounds. It is talking about interrogation. So it would hold a question mark instead of a full stop at the end of the sentence. Like, did you turn off the light? Did you turn the light off? May I borrow your newspaper? What is your favorite song? Do you ride the bus? Have you ever visited New York City? All these sentences end with a punctuation, which is a question mark, as they are questioning. Imperative sentences hold a tone of command or request, and similar to assertive or declarative sentences, it also ends with a full stop. Mom, please tie my shoes. Open your mouth. Please bring the pizza to the table. Mark, do all of your homework before you go out to play. Do 10 push-ups and 20 jumping jacks. You can mark in all these 5 sentences, the tone of the sentence is either a command or a request. Examples of sentences where it holds a word like please talk about request, and the rest is holding a tone of a command instead. Simple as the name sounds, exclamatory sentences holds an exclamation mark at the end of the sentence instead of a full stop or a question mark as the other cases. Happy birthday, Tom. Ouch, that hurt. Banana splits are the best dessert. What a beautiful rose. All these examples, they express extreme feelings, strong feelings of happiness, of pain, of surprise, etc. And these extreme feelings, which expresses strong feelings, holds exclamation. Hence, they fall under the category of exclamatory sentences. Let's assimilate all the knowledge that we have gathered for the types of sentences and solve the exercise over here. How well she sings. I want to become a writer. Did I say anything to make you angry? I have lost my way. Who told you this? Let's take the first 5 questions first. It's very easy to gather and assimilate and implement in this exercise. As we see, 3 of the sentences are not ending with a full stop, which easily we can derive that the first sentence holding an exclamatory mark definitely would fall under the category of exclamatory sentences. Whereas sentence 3 and 5 holds a question mark, hence they must be interrogative sentences. Sentence 2 and sentence 4 has to be analyzed whether they are declarative or imperative depending on the tone. Sentence 2 says, I want to become a writer for I have lost my way. As both the sentences don't have a tone of command or request, it comes or falls under the category of declarative or assertive sentences, as they are just giving or mentioning some statement. She is a successful writer. It is raining cats and dogs. How ridiculous this is. She does not eat meat or fish. Go at once. Applying the same logic over here, but yes, alas, we fail because only one holds an exclamation mark and the rest are in full stops. So question number 8, sentence 8 is an exclamatory sentence, whereas let's analyze the rest 4. Sentence 6 and sentence 7, as it just states a particular situation or a information, so both of them falls under a declarative or assertive sentence. Sentence 9 as well is an assertive sentence, as it does give information about the word she or the subject she, whereas sentence 10, go at once, talks about would be an imperative sentence, as it holds a tone of a certain order. So hence sentence 10 would be an imperative sentence. Let's check whether we did assimilate and gather the information correctly. Yes, we can see very clearly that holding exclamatory and interrogative sentences holding question mark are very clear, and we identified that very correctly. Only one sentence, that is sentence number 10, holding an imperative type, and rest all are either declarative or exclamatory or interrogative. Coming back to the parts that we mentioned as subject and predicate. Apart from being subject and predicate, a sentence has another part to which we can focus on, that is an object. Now, when we talk about subject and or predicate, there the holder or the doer or the idea of the sentence is either a noun or a pronoun. Not necessarily every noun and a pronoun mentioned in the sentence will be a subject. Now, it might be an object. Now, what an object is? The main doer of the sentence, which normally comes before the verb, is the subject ideally. Whereas, when you ask the questions what or to whom, to the verb or to the action, the answer that you get is an object. In simple short understanding, we can say the doer of the action is the subject, whereas the receiver of the action would be an object. Let's take an example. She is writing a letter. He is eating a sandwich. The lazy girl got up and the old man is singing a song. We can clearly identify the subjects of these sentences being she, he, the lazy girl and the old man. Whereas, if we focus on the object of these sentences, in the first sentence, she is writing a letter. So, as we said that the doer would be the subject, whereas receiver would be the object. So, in this sentence, the action is writing and the receiver of the action is a letter. So, a letter would be termed as the object. Similar theory applies. So, he is reading a book. The object over here is a book. They are singing a song is the object because singing is a verb or an action received by the song. He bought a new house. Okay. So, what did he buy? The question on whom and what, the answer is new house, and that becomes the object. A sentence can have more than one object. In that case, let's understand how we would identify the object, direct and indirect. The boy gave the teacher flowers. So, the question to the sentence, like the subject would be the boy undoubtedly. What did the boy give? The answer would be flowers. So, the flowers are the direct object, and whom did he give to? Is the teachers. The answer to this is the indirect object. So flowers were given by the boy becomes a direct object, and the flower was given by the boy to the teacher is the indirect object. Rita throws the ball to Juan. Now here the subject is Rita, verb or action throws, received by the ball. So direct object, to whom? To Juan, so indirect object. Okay. Now direct and indirect object identifying will be easier. Generally the direct objects are things, whereas indirect objects are people or someone, some name. Direct objects generally follow the verb, whereas indirect objects follow the direct object. General rules. There might be exceptions. No prepositions are required for the direct object, whereas in understanding, indirect object does hold a preposition. Martha bought some chocolates for Nick. The direct object is some chocolates. For whom? The preposition over here is stacked up, so Nick would be the indirect object. Martha bought Nick some chocolates. Okay. Now in this case, again the same sentence is being jumbled up by changing the indirect object and placing that just after the verb. Okay, but even then the question to what Martha bought, the answer would not be Nick, it would be some chocolates. So some chocolates will always be the direct object, not Nick, even if the position or the placement changes. Martha bought Nick, that is a him, and some chocolates. Okay, similar over here, the answer, the connotation of the preposition would be for whom? For Nick. Okay. Let's assimilate again the gathered knowledge that we have made for subject, object like direct and indirect. To underline, to find out or identify the underlined as direct, indirect or as subject. She sent her friend an email. We can simply understand her friend is receiving the email. So it would be indirect object. Whereas Sally will help you with your household work. Now, you over here is receiving the, you over here is receiving, okay. She sent her friend an email. As we mentioned, it is an indirect object. Sally will help you with your household work. So the help, that is the verb, that is action, is being directly received by you. So it's the direct object. Whereas in the sentence, where did you put the keys? So the doer over here is you. So it has to be the subject. He gave them a bag full of money. The doer is he. So them has to be the receiver. And it is not the direct receiver. Why? Because he gave what? He gave a bag full of money. Question, to whom? Them. So indirect object. Alice clearly mentions it's a subject. He offered her a flower. Direct object. My father bought us a new TV set. Indirect object. The direct would be the TV set. John sold me his car. Now his car is the direct object and me would have been indirect. I wish you good luck. The action wishing is being received by you, not directly, because what you're wishing, what here I'm wishing is good luck, and it's been received by you. So it's an indirect object. In short, applying the logic of the direct objects generally being things and the indirect objects generally being the person or someone. Let's proceed and move ahead to understand what phrases and clauses are. Simply to understand, group of words put together which may not have a complete sense, which may not give a complete idea, would be a phrase. Whereas similar group of words which formed together gives a complete meaning is termed as clauses. A phrase may not have a verb which is dependent, whereas a clause will have a subject and verb, hence it is dependent. A sentence is again a group of words with a subject and verb, but it is independent. Now what do you understand? That only difference between a clause and a sentence is both are group of words, both hold subject and verb. That means both have a complete sense and a complete meaning, but a clause is dependent whereas a sentence is independent. Idioms, on the other hand, are phrases with implied meanings. In short, you can understand the difference as clause and sentence would be the only demarcation of a punctuation mark, whether it be a full stop, a question mark or an exclamation, which completes the sense of a sentence and thereby making it independent. When we examine the group of words like is on the table, it makes sense a little but not complete. That's the phrase. Example, let's find out a phrase in this sentence. We went to watch Macbeth at Mundy House. We went is an action. To watch is a phrase in this sentence which is giving you a meaning but not complete. Now phrases are of different types. If there are a group of words which is attached with a noun, it would be called as a noun phrase, like the tiny mouse. If it is giving value addition to verb, like was reading, it would be a verb phrase. Very tall, adjective phrase. Only occasionally, adverb phrase. On the table, prepositional phrase. So a phrase can be divided into 5 categories depending on the group of words and its modifying which part of speech. So a group of words with 2 or more words functioning as a meaningful unit within a sentence or a clause is nothing but a phrase. The clause, whereas similar in connotation and meaning and understanding to a sentence, because yes, it does hold a subject and a verb together, but it cannot stand alone. It is not independent as the sentence. For example, he has a chain of gold, and the other sentence, he has a chain which is made of gold. Difference in both the sentences are, the first sentence, of gold, is giving you meaning but not complete, so it's a phrase. Whereas he has a chain which is made of gold. Now the sentence, the part which is made of gold, it makes a complete sentence, complete meaning. It gives you a complete meaning. So hence such group of words are termed as clauses. This sentence, like in this part which is made of gold, you can easily identify a subject and a predicate, a subject and a verb. That is a clause, but it is not holding independently as a sentence alone. So the difference between a clause and phrase, in the examples that we can understand better, the sun rises in the east, there came a giant to my door. In the east, to my door, the underlined groups are phrases, whereas we cannot start while it is raining. People who pay their debts are trusted. I think that you have made a mistake. The underlying group of words in the last 3 sentences can hold or can have a subject and predicate and a subject and verb of its own. So they give you a complete sense of understanding or a complete meaning, but since they are not holding their existence independently. They are a part of a sentence, so they are nothing but clauses. Let's gather all the knowledge and again help ourselves identifying them in this exercise, the phrases and the clauses. In a heated manner, as a group of words does give meaning but not complete, it must be a phrase. They were arguing in a heated manner. Now this, you have a subject like they and the predicate and the verb, so it must be a clause. They were arguing in a heated manner. The presentation of the new product. This compiled together makes a meaning complete. It's a clause. The report consulted. This sentence, this group of words does not give the entire meaning, hence it must be a phrase. The managers consulted the annual report. Holds a subject, a predicate and a verb, hence it's a clause. Will leave soon or leave soon, in both the cases there's difference of will leave soon being a phrase, whereas leave soon can be independently written as a sentence, and hence it will be a clause. So by now we have understood the entire details of what a sentence is, the parts of sentences merely in subject and predicate, as an object, subject, direct and indirect object, and the types of sentences of imperative, being imperative, assertive, declarative, exclamatory, and further understanding phrases and clauses. So thank you. The session is over. In any case you have doubts regarding anything, you can message in the WhatsApp number visible over here. Thank you.